Mane fa say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there osia dem yopo.
Oh, as I speak to you, they owe a colossal $1.5 billion. $1.5 billion. And if you multiply it by almost 14 cedis in terms of exchange rate, you are talking over 20 billion Ghana cedis. So they have received 25 billion Ghana cedis, squandered it, and yet they owe another 20 billion Ghana cedis. That is why the IPPs find it intolerable. Their operations are no longer sustainable, and that's why they are switching off their plans every now and then. And you and I are groping in the dark and sleeping in sweltering heat after all that they've had. John Mahama didn't have access to 25 billion Ghana cedis to pay anybody in the energy sector. And yet he did what he could to ramp up production. The arrogant NAPO, who is insulting all of us, and Baumea and Akufo-Addo, what have they added to the energy sector since they came to power? That would have sustained us up to this point.
What happened to the excess power?
It is there, but if the plants are there and you don't buy fuel, it's like having a nice vehicle and not being able to buy fuel. How are you going to? You can't push it, you can't carry it. So the plants are there. The problem we have is not because we have a shortfall in capacity to generate. There's a shortfall in generation because they simply don't have the money to buy fuel for the operators. That is all. When they have money, they go and give it to cronies. Cronies. Like Strat Oil. And pay them hundreds of millions of Ghana cedis a year. Compel the IPPs to buy fuel from them. So that money will line their pockets illicitly.
That's what's happening.
That's what they are doing. Why? When the finance minister was forced to publish how much they've spent under his so-called excess capacity payments, didn't you see that oil company that was formed in 2017 overnight by cronies of this government? When he sues them, then they will have arrangements like Gensa. Gas that is supposed to be sold at $6 per what do you call it? $6. They sell it at $2 or $2.7 to them, so that they will make supernormal profits to line their pockets. Look, under the NDC, we brought what we call the cash waterfall mechanism. What it simply meant is that whatever money is accrued through the sale of electricity, it has to be distributed such that every player in a sector gets something to survive on. So ECG collects, or if government has to provide subsidies, it goes into a pot so that everybody gets some in that sector. This government is supposed to make a contribution in addition to what ECG collects. For 7 months, they have not been able to do so. So that cash waterfall mechanism is in limbo. Instead of $43 million a month, they are only able to pay $9 million a month. So this is a mess that instead of NAPO turning attention to and dealing with, he chooses to insult us arrogantly. And this is the person that Baumia says he will make vice president. We relish that prospect. A person who doesn't understand that in public office, you are accountable to the people. The people have the right to demand better service. The people have the right to excoriate you if they think your performance is not up to scratch. So this government is a huge joke. This government is a huge joke. They are the worst that we've had. They have been a complete waste of our time. And I am sure that the people of Ghana have learned vital lessons from what has happened in the 8 years. And they will throw them out in the ignominy that they deserve to be thrown out for.
What's this thing I hear about ECG having about several accounts?
Well, that's
bank accounts.
You can lament that. But for me, the bottom line is that the energy sector is not being managed well. It is riddled with corruption, blatant stealing, cronyism, nepotism, incompetence, hopelessness. And rather than NAPO coming to display this level of arrogance, he should be wearing sackcloth and sitting in ashes and supplicating and apologizing profusely to the people of Ghana. Why? Does he think that he got there because he's good looking or what? Or people haven't seen a man who has a beard before? He must respect the people, the children who are sleeping in heat, especially after all the heavy lifting that has been done for them. There's a government that hasn't contributed anything to that sector. Their only contribution is corruption and stealing, dishing out undeserved contracts to their cronies. And when they flee, they will flaunt ill-gotten wealth in our face, as if they were some extraordinary people, when we all knew them before they came to power. But you see, Why would NAPO not talk to us like that? When the man who appointed him himself is at the forefront of this kind of rhetoric. A chief in the Volta region demands completion of a school that the previous government started. The president told him to go and complete it himself. So when you hear NAPO saying that you who are sleeping in darkness, go and draw your own timetable, where do you think he got his inspiration from? When you come to AAK, there's a branch, a place called Ahunfi. Our chairman of that branch has a very interesting proverb. He says, "Den chamna no po, ne basona no po."
Yeah, I heard that before.
The crocodile has a long snout, so its offspring also has a long snout. So when you hear NAPO speaking to us like that, you know where he draws inspiration from. If the whole president can go to the Volta region and tell people that they don't vote for him, yet he is here. If he can look the chiefs of a Kunfi in the face and tell them that because they voted out an MPP MP, he also decided to neglect them. Why won't an energy minister be embodied to talk like this? And then there is Baumia, who, in spite of glaring economic difficulty, is able to stand on a platform and tell us that their government has a superior economic record. That is delusional talk. You see, the times that we are in and the kind of suffering that people are going through, the last thing we require is this kind of talk. You see clear economic catastrophe, and then you tell people that you are better. What does he take the people of Ghana for? Annie, he claims that the data shows. Annie, what data? How can a man lie to himself and the people of Ghana in this manner? In such a disrespectful manner. What data shows that they were better? Annie, is 2 bigger than 1? Annie, I'm asking you a question. When you see 2, is it bigger than 1? I'm asking, please answer me.
I don't know.
What I'm saying is that 2 is it bigger than 1? 2 is bigger than 1. So when somebody tells you 1 is bigger than 2, is he being truthful? This thing here, what is the color of this thing?
Red.
So if I tell you it is blue, am I sensible?
Is that what Dr. Bawumia is doing?
But what is he doing? And as I speak to you, only last week, the Bank of Ghana revealed that our end of year public debt was 610 billion Ghana cedis.
Yeah.
When he was, and in fact, incidentally, yesterday was exactly 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
After the MPP's Kwesi Yanka and Central University fabricated a so-called academic role for him to double in economic propaganda. And he did his lecture restoring the value of the city. It is exactly 10 years ago yesterday since he did that. Andy, I beg your pardon. Our public debt is 610 billion Ghana cedis. When he was holding those lectures, our debt was 120 billion Ghana cedis. Is 610 billion Ghana cedis better than 120 billion Ghana cedis? Which sane individual will make this argument? 610 billion, is it better than 120 billion Ghana cedis? At the time he was purporting to lecture us on the cedi and how to restore its value, the cedi was under 4 cedis to $1. In fact, that was 2014. It probably may have been around 3 cedis to $1. And today, it is 13.75 Ghana cedis. In November of 2023, it went to 17 cedis. Today, it is 13.75 Ghana cedis. Is Bawumia telling us that if you're a businessman and you have to go and exchange $1 at 13.75 billion Ghana cedis, 13.75 cedis, it is better than when you needed just 3 cedis for the same purpose? Is that what Bawumia is telling us? Which sane individual can make this argument? Annie, when we were in power, your mama was paying and servicing debt regularly. He didn't keep anybody's 1 cedi. Bawumia, as head of the economic management team, he has told the whole world that we are bankrupt. We can't pay our debt. So officially, we have defaulted. And we took that decision unilaterally. Because of that, 1.3 million people who bought government bonds have been told to go and hang. 100 billion Ghana cedis that should have gone into paying them has been appropriated by this government under a so-called, what do you call it, debt restructuring mechanism. And I'm asking you a question again. And these are objective questions. If you are able to pay your debt, are you worse off than the person who cannot pay his debt? Or better still, if you cannot pay your debt, is it better than being able to pay your debt? Which sane person can make this argument? That if you can't pay your debt, it is better than being able to pay? Which sane person can make that argument.
The reason why they make those arguments are the factors that they always
What
tell
factors?
You that led us
What
into where we
factors?
are
What
today.
factors are they talking about? Was the IMF boss not in Ghana only last week? Did she not accept that it was reckless election-related expenditure that caused the problem? And have we not been saying this for the longest time? And you also have a video of Baumia where we had a B- credit rating. He said we were incompetent. And I beg, B-, is it worse than default? Or in other words, if you default on your loans, are you better than having a B- credit rating? Which sane person can sustain this argument? Look, when Baumia again, during those lectures, one of the things he did was that he sought to calculate what he claims was the total resource envelope accruing to the NDC. He added all our tax and non-tax revenue. And then he added the increase in our debt and said that in the 8-year span we were in power, we had access to 248 billion. And if you did the same analysis today, and indeed 2 weeks ago, the minority that did it in parliament, they have had 925 billion Ghana cedis. That's how much resources they've had, using Baumia's own standard. Interest rates, when we were in power, were a little above 20%. Today, it is inching towards 40%. Is Baumia telling the businessman that a 40% interest rate is better than a 20% interest rate? Which sane person can sustain this argument? Our what do you call it? Unemployment rate in 2016 was 8%. Only last month, the Statistical Service revealed that it had crossed 14%. So if you have 14% of your population or population within the working bracket unemployed, is it better than 8% not being unemployed? Which sane person can sustain this argument? So please, it is bad enough that they have destroyed our country. It is bad enough that they have offered completely useless governance in the last 8 years. But the last thing we should be tolerating is this insulting behavior. Why? I was in government. And you know the FIADC, what he said?
Yeah.
You remember the FIADC incident? And I'm using that to illustrate the difference in standards of governance. That man was at a public function when somebody showed rudeness to him. So on the spur of the moment, he responded a certain way. It was innocuous. I don't think that matter was of any serious input. Look, the following morning, I was at the Flagstaff House when the man was summoned and given a stern warning. Some of us even tried to intervene, but the authorities, President Mahama, insisted that he will censure the man. The man made a mistake of broaching the subject again in an interview. He fired him immediately. And here's a man who was not responsible for putting anybody in darkness. I'm talking about the PRDC.
He was summoned.
He was summoned and cautioned the first time he made the statement. Okay. A few weeks after that, he went on radio and sought to justify that statement. He was dismissed immediately after that interview because President Mahama felt that public officials must be sensitive to the plight and aspirations and sensibilities of the people that we govern. But here's an energy minister. He probably will receive a pat on his back from President Akufo-Addo for talking to us this week. So they have been abysmal. The very worst government we've had. And on top of that, they choose to insult us. But it is a cautionary tale to all of us who also are voters, that when we get the opportunity to select leaders, we need to look through it carefully, so that we don't go and elect incompetent people who will insult us on top and tell us that we should go and publish our own timetable.
Right.
When they were campaigning in 2016 and attacking the government of the day, and the people of Ghana were agreeing with them, could they have told the people of Ghana to go and publish their own timetable?
Right.
So please, enough of the disrespect.
PENDREAM TV now, so far so good. Say open online portal e Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.